welcome to Inkish, and super nice to see you. And is it Marcus that we have in the background?
No, this is actually Albert, our technician, who will support us today. And yeah, I
Fantastic.
just wanted to quickly introduce him so that he doesn't come out of nowhere when we show our machines later.
Fantastic. As you know, we are starting. I'm not Marcus Poppe here, so I'll just do like this. So, Constantin, the first time I spoke to you was when you were part of the exhibition at Hunkler Innovation Days, right? But you are
Yes.
not, I mean, you're a young man, but you're not a young company, right?
No, we have been in business for quite a long time. In fact, for the machines, my grandfather built the first Schmedt machines in 1967, and it was a small blocking press, so quite different from what we do now.
Hmm.
But over the time, we have become more automated and also more digital. But we have always stuck to our focus of hardcover bookmaking. And yes.
Yeah, and it's amazing because I was just about to say that when I saw, I was in Holland, as I said to you just a couple of weeks ago, and when I was, I'm trying to make this happen. It's worked perfect today, and now I'm screwing up with it. I'm sorry. Hang on a second here. I just want to be sure that I do it right. So now, because you have such a nice view, and I'm just sitting in my home office here. No, so I was in the Netherlands with a company called Fotofabrik just a few weeks ago, and that was actually, it wasn't the first time, but it was one of the first time I saw your equipment at the floor, and basically, as you say, focusing on hardcover production and maybe even in the production of down to a single copy, right? From a, let's say, a technical perspective, how difficult is that?
So with our machines, it's not so difficult, but we'll see that in a second. No, but I am always surprised that nobody, and also we haven't come up with a better solution for hardcover bookmaking, because
Mhm.
it's such a complicated process with so many different steps.
Mhm.
And yeah, but it is quite difficult to reinvent the wheel. So we just have the opportunity to build the book in a more efficient way. So, yeah.
Is that what makes Schmidt stand out from your competitors? You think?
I think that's for sure one reason why we sell machines successfully.
Hmm.
Another reason is we really focus on our customers and work with
Hmm.
them to find the best solution, and we really care about our customers and the books that come out of uh, our and their machines in the
Hmm.
end.
Hmm.
So I think that's really what differentiates us, for example, from Italian competitors who often um, are really serviceable until they after they sell the machine, and
Hmm.
afterwards it's more difficult with them.
Okay,
So
so so that is the key to success is, of course, I mean, because I mean, you make an investment, you want to make sure that it keeps running, and then basically based on the feedback you get from the market, you are able to develop new iterations and new machines based on the feedback you get from the machines and from your technicians in market, right?
yes, of course. So one machine that we launched this year and presented at Hunkela Innovation Days first, and now we will also see today, is our bigger press for pressing off the books after casing in.
Mm-hmm.
We'll look at that in a second as well. But there we already had a different solution before, and we are iterating to make it faster, more reliable, and to optimize for workflows that our customers have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what we are focusing on right now, is to really understand how especially printing companies work, and how they can incorporate our hardcover solutions into their whole workflow and make it as seamless as possible. And
Mm-hmm.
that's also something that our solution, the larger one we are looking at today,
Mm-hmm.
that it really strives to optimize.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's always difficult with hardcover production. With larger machines, you always have to batch your formats. And because you have so many different format changes, for example, the spine can be bigger, or the whole cover can be different. So yeah, photo book market, the books on demand business, all of this really impacts how you can work as a printer. And for people that start out with hardcover, that's usually they don't know how much goes into it and how much can be different on a per book level. So our solution basically really doesn't care what you feed it, what Albert will feed it later, but it basically adjusts based on the pre-press input from barcodes. So basically no format settings are needed while running the machine, and we will see that in a second. And that really really differentiates us there also from competition.
Constantin, when do Schmedt come into the picture? Is it, I mean, because you don't print the books, of course. Do you do the signatures, or is it from finished signatures and then you take care of it from there? Or how fast or how soon in the process is it a Schmedt product?
So usually we come in right after perfect binding. So we don't have a perfect binder. So like let's say like Horizon or Müller-Martini, you have their perfect binders as a printer, maybe already for softcover production. And then we come in right after that and take care of everything that is hardcover. So the case making part, and then the casing in as the two bigger processes. But we also have smaller solutions for like headbands or bookmarks, and rounding if you are looking at round books. Nice. So yeah, we really are quite have quite the whole process covered, but only after the book block is finished, basically with an end paper that fits for hardcover production instead of a soft cover.
Last question before I will give the word to you, and that is a little bit relating, because you mentioned both Horizon and Müller-Martini, and both of them, they also want a part of your market, right? So I'm just wondering, when let's say that you go out to a printing company that wants to make hardcover books, and they're looking into, let's say, a Horizon binder, and now they want to do hardcover books. What is the most important reason for choosing Schmedt for that part of it rather than using something else?
So I think reliability is probably the biggest reason, and quality of the end product. And we also have much smaller solutions. We can have a look after we look at the big solution. We'll also show just with a quick pan over our entry-level solution, so that people can see, okay, what is really also first step maybe into the whole hardcover business that is less of an investment, of course. So and then we grow with the customer a little bit. So we have basically three solution levels, and we are going to look at the entry-level solution a little bit, but mainly the high-end solution today. And we also have something in between, so that we can really help the customer to grow their business and also have the right machines for each customer size. But at some point we don't have enough let's say production capacity for really big volumes. So that's where for example like Colbus comes in.
Okay,
and
so that is like you're focusing on, for example, the books of one, and you're focusing up to a certain volume, and then you leave it to somebody else when it comes to the higher volumes.
But yes, we don't have a good solution for that, and that's also probably something we will not touch for a while, because we really are focused on the on-demand side of the business, and that's also where we shine at the moment. So I think we have great solutions for that, and there is a growing market there. We see quite a lot of interest, because it's difficult to sort books and batch them and all of this. Usually you want to just work within your workflow and basically produce the books as you print them. So
Fantastic. Take it away, and just one little comment to our audience. If you have any questions, you can ask questions on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Facebook, and then I can see them here, and I can share them with Constantin and his colleagues. And otherwise, I will. I'm pretty sure I will have some questions because I'm so stupid that I have to learn all the day. And for example, I couldn't even figure out to put the Schmedt video on. So Schmedt, that is how we're going on now. So Constantin, take it away and I will talk to you afterwards, right?
Okay, thank you. All right, so I will just quickly, while I'm still here in this camera, show what we are going to start with, or what the end product will look like that we produce. So this is a book cover, and the first part of our solution we will look at will focus on producing this from all the raw materials. So we have a printed laminated sheet here on the one hand, and cardboard that is cut to size based on the barcode that we have printed here on the outside of the cover. So we will look at that in a second, and afterwards we will look at how we combine the book block like this that comes out of the perfect binder, also with the barcode on here, and the bookcase to form the hardcover book. So that's basically the whole process we're going to look at today. We're not going to look at bookmark and page ribbon insertion, but of course, if there's any interest, we can always look at this separately in a demo or so later with interested customers. So now we are going to basically walk over to the machines. I have my colleague Julia here who will show everything. I'll quickly grab the microphone. Okay. So Albert is just pumping a little bit of glue in our casing in machine, but we will first focus on the case making part. And I'll just quickly walk you through the whole solution, and then we will see how Albert produces a couple of cases so that we really understand what the solution is about. So everything starts basically with the sheet, with the cover sheet. This is basically the format we have chosen now, and we have different printouts in here. And based on the printout, the machine cuts to size. So we will see in a second that the machine looks here at the black borders, and we will then have the cover cut to the correct size after the machine is done. So as you can see, we now have a different format that is cut right after. And basically the machine operates by itself and can run through the whole stack. And Albert will, when he is starting, okay, we are switching formats. No. Okay, so we have different formats in the stack so that we can see how it works correctly. So this machine will basically just be running and trimming all the covers. And while that is working, we're going to start looking at the case making process. So we scan a barcode, the machine on the right cuts the cardboard. And that is so here on the right, you can see that the cardboard is cut depending on the barcode that is scanned and delivered to the operator. so that Albert can then put it together on the assembly table. We will quickly have a look in the machine in a second too, to see how it works. But now you can see different formats. We now have a rounded bookcase. So there is a modular system here on the left, where you can see that also for rounded books, we have the cutting done. And now we'll quickly have a look also from the back. Inside the machine. Here you can see what is actually happening after Albert triggers the process. The case will move into the machine. The corners will be cut in line, as you can see here. And then it will be turned in. And after turning in for all four sides, the case will be ejected to the front of the machine into a basket. So down here, you can see the finished bookcases that Albert has already produced. And as you can see, the main advantage of this system is that everything is cut to size and prepared for Albert to only assemble the cases depending on the barcode on the cover. And we have to do no manual preparation. And if you have a good operator like Albert, you can do about 250 bookcases 1 hour, and all of that with totally different sizes. So the machine adjusts by itself depending on the input. As you can see, now we have a really small cover, about A5 size, and also that works same as the other one. Okay, Albert. Okay, we're just doing the last one, and then we'll have a look at casing in and pressing afterwards. As you can see, we had all the covers cut here. Okay, and now we're going to have a look at how we actually combine the bookcase and the book block. So as we just saw, those are the two things that we need. And this one is basically our bread and butter machine. We have sold over 1,000 of these over 4 different iterations. So this is a really reliable machine and fully optimized so that we feel very comfortable with this. And we're going to basically take a book block, put it on the sword. It will move down in between the glue rollers. And when moving up, the glue rollers move together to put a really thin, nice coating of glue on the book block. And afterwards, it will move into the case that Albert puts on top. So we're just going to have to quickly have a look how that actually works. We have to put these for smaller books. You just have to quickly put it in. And then with the scan on the book block and a scan on the book cover, we make sure that we have the right product. And that also triggers the backstop of this machine so that we already know the format that is needed to have the correct book size also for the press. So the barcode scan does two things, basically process security, and it already sets the setting for the book press. Now we do a different format. Same process. Okay. Looks like Albert forgot to scan a second time. Okay, we are going to produce a couple of books to see how the machines work in action. And then we'll also see how it integrates into a workflow afterwards. So basically, we have 4 stations in the book press. So we are going to produce 4 books or 5 books until we actually see something coming out in the back. But that also allows us to have a really long press time, which makes up for high quality books. So now we see the first book that we put in being finished here, and it will be transported out to the back in a second once Albert has finished the first book. So, and now we will see all the books coming out as Albert finishes them up. And here we basically just have a small transport band that can be adjusted to the customer needs. Usually what we see our customers do is they add another transport system here to, for example, directly a shipping station depending on their workflow, or a quality control. All of this is of course possible. And here we just have a basic table right now because we don't have a second transport band. But yeah, the positioning of this, you can choose basically any side. So it could also stick out like this or to the right side. That's fully modular. But as you can see, we produce different formats and also different materials. We now see Albert has chosen a cloth book. That's also possible. Of course, you don't have a barcode on there. So now the first book fell down. But we can see seamless production here as well. And the speed is about the same as with the case making. So realistic 250 books per hour. The press is faster, but it really depends on the casing in process here, how fast the operator is. Technical speed would be around 300, but 250 is usually achievable. Yes, so that's basically our large solution. If we look at it all together, we have the case making on the left side and the casing in here. And now if we are looking at a little bit of a smaller solution where not so much is automated, but you can still achieve the same high quality books, we have our entry level solution here. I'm quickly going to transfer the camera and then I'll walk over and explain a little bit. So here, this is basically the same as we saw on the left side over there. We have the case making part, And then here on the right side, we have small versions of the casing in machine, or XS machines, the pre-lig for casing in and the preform for pressing off the books and making a nice joint forming. But what you need here, and what is different to the other solution, is that we have to have pre-cut boards that are already at the right size for the format that we produce later. And we also have to have pre-cut cover material. In this case, it's just a simple paper. The machines can work with anything, for example, also this cloth. But we, again, also have to cut off the corners either inline. Here we have a small system, or you have a stack and you cut beforehand. Usually a lot of our customers cut everything, cut the corners off before in a corner cutting machine, and then we feed in the assembled case in here, and we get a bookcase from it. So same process, you also assemble everything together, but this is much less automated than our larger solution. Nevertheless, you still get good value out of this system. And you can produce books just the same as with the large one, but you have a little bit more effort preparing everything before. So I think that's it for us right now. I will go back to the monitor and then we maybe have a quick discussion with Morten.
Thank you very much for a very that was a learning experience for me. Being in so many companies and so many different types of technology, and when you see something where you really get hands on what you're doing, it is so much nicer than a PowerPoint presentation. With all due respect for all the PowerPoint presentations in the world, I just want to say. So thank you for your time with preparing this kind of thing. Constantin, I can't help think about the one thing is that the photo book market is I think it's still growing, but the nature of books of one seems to be like almost an endless journey right now, because you have self-publishers, you have back catalogs, you have I mean, there's so many types of books that basically opens up even further for the book market. I think that a lot of people were a little afraid that it would go digital, but it doesn't seem to go digital.
Mhm.
How do you, as a company, grab that opportunity? I mean, because you need to get out and show the technology for convincing people about your technology, I guess.
Yeah, that's always difficult part, right? So we saw clearly a change with COVID happening on how we actually sell our machines. So that's why we also have a little bit better video equipment than you might expect from a
You have
normal
super,
hardware company.
you have super nice video equipment, and you have a showroom that looks awesome. I mean, it's a workplace, but it gives you the opportunity to present as you were almost there, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's really what helps us sell even now. In COVID, it was like we had virtual demos, like Zoom meetings, where we could actually still look at the machines even though nobody could travel. And that gave confidence to quite a lot of our customers. Nowadays, it's a mix of both, but we see much more in-person visits too. But our demo center here for sure helps us to really convince the customer that the machines fit their products also, because they can send their own material. We can basically produce with them together. They see 100% how the whole process works. They can even try it out themselves. So that really helps build credibility and trust in the product. So yeah, that's for sure something that is important for us. And yeah, of course, we also have to consider how to actually get leads, how to get in touch with people. And that's for sure something that I think every machine producer always has to figure out what's the right approach.
Of course.
In the past, it was trade shows. Now maybe still trade shows, but we don't know, because Hunkela Innovation Days for sure was a good fair for us, even though we didn't have an impressive number of sales afterwards. But it's we still sold 1 or 2 machines, and then it's already worth the investment to go, because you're still building your brand, and you're talking to people.
But Constantin, talking about building brand and also selling, I mean, what is the typical? I mean, when I talk to companies producing hardware, sometimes the selling cycles take endless time before they actually get to buying. So that must be the difficult part, evaluating investment in Hunkler or a trade show. Because I mean, if you buy a machine now, maybe you take the decision within a year or 2 years, sometimes even, right? So how long is the
Yes.
normal lead time for you?
It really depends. So we always try nowadays to have at least one set of machines on stock, because people tend to buy much quicker than they did in the past. So once the decision is finalized that they want the equipment, they basically need it tomorrow, because they already planning on how to basically incorporate it into their product range. And for us, that for sure was a adjustment. So we had to take much more money and invest it into stock as well, also machine stock. So in the past, it was more like we produce per order. Now it's a little bit different, so that we also are more efficient in producing the machines, because we produce on stock and then we sell. And it's a little bit more planning, but for sure for us, it's a good movement. But for the large systems, we are talking to some customers for 2 years.
Yeah, precisely. So that's what I mean. Yeah, basically, it takes time, right? Yeah.
But then we had different
thinking,
customer takes very short time.
Yeah, I was thinking, as far as I remember, when we spoke before Hunkler Innovation Days. I mean, you're 3rd generation, right?
Yes. So overall, 5th generation, but 3rd generation for the machines. We were only selling material and tools before.
Yeah, and as far as I remember, it's been some time ago, but then I talked to a lot of people. But as far as I remember, you actually have given a lot of new ideas to also how you go to market, how your branding and your. I think you said that you did a new website where you have a. I mean, so Schmedt as a company is maybe an old company on paper, but it's a very modern company in how you manage and how you see the future for your company, right?
Yeah, I think you have to adapt, and for sure, it's not only myself. So we have really good employees that also drive the business forward. But I think it was definitely for the company also a good move to have a little bit of fresh air, because my father is now 65, and of course he's still active in the business, but at some point, I think you just lose the drive a little bit to give 120% every day. And with a young person that still hasn't made or still has to experience their own things, I think it's easier to have a little bit more of a drive and try to change things on how you see them. So I think that's helped us for sure.
I can tell you that I don't think it has only something to do with age. I think it has something that who you are. I know that we have only waved to each other when I was passing by your booth at the Hunkler Innovation Days, because fortunately there was a lot of people at your booth all the time. But the way I think that we also, when we had our first conversation, is that you are. It's not just because you're young; it's also because you have an interest in your company, right? And it's basically that you see a future. Because I think that you have a great education in a different industry. You have kind of a legacy to your family. But if you couldn't see a future there, you could not spend the energy and the resources you're doing on developing companies. So I think give yourself that credit, because I think that is an important part of your success. And what you just showed me now is. Obviously some. I mean, for example, when I saw the trimmer for the covers and how you simply scan the barcodes for the boards for the casing, it may seem so simple, but in a way it is so much more efficient to have something where you basically get everything that you don't have to take to a guillotine and pre-cut everything, and basically, of course, if you do thousands of the same books, it of course doesn't make sense to do it like this, but you're aiming in a market that is in all matters seems to me like a growing market. So that was also why I was asking about your go-to strategy, because are you selling through dealers and agents, or how do you sell in other countries? I mean, you're in Germany. Where in Germany are you?
We're in Hamburg, so
In Hamburg.
in the
Okay.
north.
Okay.
Yeah, not the most industry focused region. Like the south is more where all the bigger companies sit, but historically we're up here, and yeah,
I
it
like
depends
Hamburg a
on.
lot, actually.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It depends on the country for us. So we have dealers in, for example, the US. We have dealers in Poland and France and the UK. But we do direct business in a lot of the Scandinavian countries or the rest of Benelux. It really depends on whether we can find a suitable partner that actually represents us well and also has good contacts to customers. And
Yeah, because it's too easy to say yes to distribution without doing anything, right?
sometimes we also do it on a base by base, case by case commission basis. Depends on whether we, whether we didn't get the customer because we did our work or if somebody else helped us. But yes, for us, it's not so 100%
Either way,
where.
basically. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It depends on the market.
And what about, I mean, if you look at the company and you see the products and also the future for selling more, what are the biggest challenges? I mean, we are in a market that grows. What is the biggest challenge for a company your size?
So I think we have to be even better. Even though we're innovating, we have to be quicker in innovating to stay relevant, because as you said initially, the big players, they're coming also for our market, and I think that's a very realistic threat. So I mean, Müller Martini, they have bought Colbus in the past, so and for them it would be a very natural move to go into the smaller production sizes, and I think they just have not managed to do that, but for sure they're planning, with the casing in part, they have their Diamant. So a solution that they claim does exactly what we do on demand production. In reality, it looks a little bit different, but in general, they of course are looking at us also, even though we are much smaller, and trying to also get a grasp of that market, which makes sense. So we have to become more automated and meet them on the middle basically, and stay relevant there.
Yeah. And from the, let's say, from the product side, I mean, the end product, the book, you can say a book is a book, but I was with a book printer in Italy last year where they basically added, for example, RFID codes into the spine of a hardcover book, or use barcodes in the production like you did, but where it's actually the QR code that is actually turned to be customer facing QR code at the end product. And I mean, all of these kind of technology advances, is that something that you're looking into? I mean, because you can make machines that are more efficient, you can make machines that are faster, you can make machines that can do wonderful things, but it's also about reinventing the book to the end customers. I was just thinking, I said for fun to Julia from Mechanotechnica, I said to her, maybe because the books are gifts, so maybe you should have a built-in system to make gift cards, right? Because then you could give the next book to the next one, right? And I was just thinking that how do you sit down with your team and think about, okay, what is the next thing? And I'm talking about it as one side to it is the end product to the consumers, and then on the other side there is what can Schmedt do in order to differentiate from your competition.
Yeah, so we are usually not the most creative people, but our customers are really creative. So we have to stay really close to the market and understand their needs and their wants. So one thing that has been a real interesting development for us is the whole book edge printing. And unfortunately, it is a little bit of a different focus, so we're not going to look at it here today. We also don't have a demo machine because we sold all of our machines because there's a lot of demand in the market right now.
So you are offering edge printing, basically?
So we have a book edge printer. We basically it's us and a Swiss company that can offer a machine that actually does this. And basically, maybe
I would like to see it because I think that
yes,
if you have one book, it could be great to see.
yeah. So my colleague just gave me. So this is also printed on the edge printer, but it's
Okay,
basically a box, right?
Yeah, okay.
So not really.
So that's like an
the-
inkjet printer where you can basically squeeze the spine, squeeze the book block, and then print before you bind it.
Exactly. So it goes between two transport bands and a print head that is basically sitting on top.
Yeah.
And we move through and print with a waterfall system.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
smart, and I think that is a great way because I mean, again, as I talked to some of your colleagues here at our event, is that the industry needs to develop, and you know, I think that books has a bright future, but if it becomes more and more a luxury product, then of course you need to make the product more and more luxury kind of approach to it, and I think that just think back of 100 years ago, edge binding and gilding, edge printing and gilding was that was like for the high end luxury books, right? That was like something that we really wanted to have, and I don't know about you, but when I see gilding on books today, you see them so rarely, but it just looks so freaking fantastic nice. So it's yeah. So there are opportunities. That's what you say, basically, right?
Yes. So for us, that's definitely a market that is very interesting this year, especially. So I think, in the past 1 or 2 years, the market has really developed, and CPI is one of the companies that's really driving innovation in that market, and they
are not so far away from Hamburg, right? I mean, one of the factories, isn't that in didn't they have one location close to Hamburg, CPI?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, they're more in the south.
Okay.
All of the big producers are in the south, unfortunately. But,
so you have to drive a lot. You have to drive a lot then.
Exactly. No, but they are really driving innovation in that market, and they work with the previous iteration of our machine that we sold but did not build. And now, as of this year, we have launched a new machine that we are actually producing ourselves. We're still working with S Printer. It's a company, basically a one-man show, and he built, Henning Siegmund, he built the previous iteration, and we sold it since 2019. And now we decided to switch to a different printing system, printing engine, and build the whole machine ourselves, just because we have a lot more capabilities than he does as a one-man show, and he wants to do less machine building and more traveling and
innovation, basically.
Service.
And what about if you have like that? I'm curious about that edge printer, but if you have an edge printer, can it be integrated into, let's say, the perfect binder, so you can have it integrated, or is it a separate process again, or?
So for sure, for now, it's a separate process. We have not, like, for now, you basically print on each side separately with our machine.
Oh, okay. So that is an example. I thought you were standing with a box, but it is actually the printed product. You have a book here. Oh, that looks so cool.
I have another, but this is not so good quality.
Yeah.
But for the camera, it's okay. So here you can see.
Yeah. But it looks
the
cool.
book.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
I love these kind of features because they are like taking the advantage of the full surface of the book, basically, right? So
yes,
super nice.
And a lot of printers obviously struggle with making money nowadays. So for them, it's a really good opportunity to really drive value in the market again, because you can make quite a bit of money with this kind of finishing. So definitely interesting for our customers.
And I was thinking that with the world of bookbinding, as you have as your slogan on the wall behind you, right? I was thinking that, I mean, if you have, when you sell, let's say a case binding solution to a printing company, and you're known for having a focus on the hardcover production, I think it's a little bit easier to come with the, let's say, a side edge or edge printer, because it speaks to the same kind of production people. They understand the value, and they understand how they can sell it, right?
Yeah, yeah, and they for sure know that we know a lot about books,
Yeah.
and it's different printing on a sheet of paper than printing on a book edge. There are quite a little bit of
Slightly different.
yes, exactly. But yeah, it's for sure very very interesting. For now, we see a lot of interest from really large publishing houses and their producing companies. So, for example, like CPI is a company that have already published about using our machines. So I'm open
Oh,
to speak
nice.
about it.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, the other producers, they are more like big big printing finishers, and they have large volumes. So let's say you rarely have runs that are smaller than 1,000 books
Yeah,
when they produce, and
yeah,
maybe up
yeah.
to 50,000 or so.
Yeah.
So
Because I mean, also because I mean, you look at them; they have kind of specialized in what niche they produce in. So that's not a big surprise, of course. So that's great. You said, it's the last question. You said something like you're like a little bit hesitant with the value of the trade shows, but what about trade shows like Printing United in the US and Drupa in Europe? Is that something that you are planning to participate in, or?
So Printing United, we were as like a co-exhibitor in the past, but we never showed machines. And there, the US is not so easy of a market for us. I don't know why. That's something we are working on. But yeah, Drupa, of course, historically has been a very important trade show for us, and we are also we have quite a big booth for next year, and we plan to exhibit most of our machines. We were bigger in the past, so but now we. Yeah, of course, we have to reevaluate after the next Drupa
Of course,
on how it actually will perform,
of
because
course.
we definitely saw a decline from like the 80s, 90s, 2000s
Yeah,
already until like 2016,
yeah,
and now 8 years have passed.
yeah.
So it will be very interesting to see how many actual leads come from such a big event,
I mean,
also for us.
one of the things that we have been discussing on English, and I think actually you and I spoke about it, or was chatting about it, is that the customer acquisition cost of going to these events is something that you basically have to consider, because maybe trade shows in the past were the only options you had, but today you have many
Mhm.
different options, and when you show it with your showroom and your camera equipment and the way you can present things, I'm not saying that it can replace a trade show, but the trade show still need to, be valuable to participate at. Either it's very,
Yeah,
otherwise it's difficult to justify the cost of going, basically, right? So
yeah,
yeah.
especially for a show that's so long,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Drupa.
because it's many days, so it takes a lot of resources. I mean, we are planning right now, and I think we need to be more than 20 people to cover what we want to cover, basically, right?
Okay.
So that is a very very big job and a very very expensive show to cover, and of course it's always about how can you can never cover all 2,000 exhibitors, right? Anyway, so how do you also make from a selection perspective the right stories, and at the same time also something that can still be valuable enough for from a business perspective, because English is of course also a business, so it's like that always, right? So,
Yes.
well, Constantin, it's been a pleasure to have you here on English. This is the first time we do it in a Learn with us, but I hope you will join with us another time, because I think it's interesting products and services, and I think it's also great to see a young man taking the responsibility on behalf of your employees and the market, and it must be nice for your father to see that it's leaving Schmedt in good hands. So thank you very much for your time here on English.
Thank you, Morten. Have a good day.
And you too.
Have fun with everybody else.
I am sure I will, and I hopefully now when I click on the Schmedt teaser, I hope it will be the right one. Otherwise, I will just one more time saying Schmedt, Schmedt, Schmedt.
All right. Okay. Thank you.